Hello and welcome to Flory Models. Here we are with you on Friday the 29th of October 2021. Crikey, we'll be 2 months from Christmas. This year's absolutely flown by as always. Anyway, this week's been really busy. Been getting on with some of these. We've got the tutorials up. But basically it all started, as we can see, on Monday, which was part 2 of the Zvezda 1 to 350 scale. This is the Delphin or the Delta 4 sub that we're working on. And again, it's a really interesting build because whilst some, kits go together relatively straightforward and you don't have to worry too much about seam lines, this one, as you can see down in here, has got plenty of seam lines and joints and various things in it. And they've all got to be cleaned up and taken care of. And because of the scale effect of working in something like 1 to 350, if you leave a panel line in there, it's going to stand out literally like a foot wide in scale. So from that point of view, it does need to be taken. So part 2, we looked at scrape cleaning. This is a perfect and really does showcase it really well of how good scrape cleaning is on a surface like this, because it's slightly curved as well, you can take out all the imperfections and blend it and then sand and everything else. And then we've gone back in there and we've taken care of it with lots of filler, lots of sanding and lots of really just trying to get it together to look pretty much as seamless as we possibly can. And here she is. Here, we take those off. You can probably see, if we move the Spitfire out of the way, she's looking pretty darn good. But to be honest with you, this is the 3rd coat of primer that we've put down on here, purely because we had seam lines down the back here, because obviously this is like a 3-piece hull and then this piece at the bit is 2 pieces as well. And again, just this top plate, getting it to blend in and to go down as seamlessly as possible was quite a tall order. And again, seams on the bottom, you've got seams all around the front. There's a lot of stuff going on this, and because it is so small, if you did have a seam like showing, there was a nasty one just underneath here that I thought we got away with until we made all the rest of them perfect. So we had to take care of it. And then this back section, to be honest, has been a little bit of the bane of my life, because we've had to come through in here. This is 3 times of sanding and filling, and going right the way through the motions of that one to get it in there as nice as possible. But generally, as you can see, she's come together now. She's looking very much the part. She does have a little stand thing here that these little feet go on to. And there's one, and I can get this one back in, and then here is 2. And then obviously we've got the little base for it like this, and then obviously these 2, and there is a certain order for them to go and come in, and it'll be on a little bit of a base. Put my hand around the back and hold it like that. So it should look quite nice. But again, the whole point of this particular one is that it's somewhat of a masterclass, or my attempt at a masterclass, I should say, on actually doing black work in scale, which again, it's one of those areas, it's quite a tall order. Because the thing is, you've got to get it in scale, because otherwise it's just going to look like a brick. It'll look, with red underneath and then the black on top and then some white lines for the actual, the sort of demarcation lines down on it. And it will look really bad. But we want to blend this in and give it a really artistic look, as if she is underwater and doing her bit and looking very much the part. So again, we're going to be using blues, we're going to be using purples, we're going to be using greens in the black as well, just to try and break it down to get that base colour down. Then it's going to be a case, once it's all deckled and looking the part, of going through and weathering it down again and beating it down, trying to give it that scale effect, which in some ways, doing these types of things, like I say, with a lot of naval stuff, really difficult. It's difficult enough on a ship, but when you're doing a sub, I think it's even worse, because you've got to give that effect as if it's underwater as well. So there's lots of things I have never tried before, and we're going to give them a whirl on this particular build, so it should be a lot of fun. But generally, stay tuned with this one. Next part of this one will be up with you on Monday, which basically gets you into primer. And then, to be honest, this week I've been sort of rinse and repeating, because like I've often said with this hobby, it's patience. You need to let fillers dry before you sand them. You need to let primers dry before you overcoat them. So again, this has been one of those things. Every day it's had another coat. So I was working on it Monday, and then obviously Tuesday it had a coat, Wednesday it had a coat, and it had another coat yesterday. And then today I've just come in and checked it all over, happy now that we can move on with it. So the next stage will be getting some black paint onto this. So over the weekend, hopefully we'll get this painted on, we'll get the red underneath as well, get the black coats onto it, and then we can start breaking them up with weathering as we make our way through. But again, really am enjoying it. Something totally different for me, never done a sub before. And again, it's one of those areas where you think, oh, it's a 2-minute job, isn't it? It's a couple of halves go together and that's that's it. Actually, there's been more sanding and filling on this particular model than I think I've done on any other model in the last few years, but it'll be worth it. And a lot of that is I want it to be perfect. We want to get rid of all the imperfections so it's looking as good as it possibly can. So I think we're halfway there now. Now I've got all the base work done, just into the paintwork. It should be a lot of fun on there. Then next up, we went over to Tuesday, which is in here. Sorry, let me just pop into Tuesday. There we go. And on Tuesday, continuing on with the tutorial series, I did the next bite-sized video, which was all about rescribing and re-riveting and going through the motions of doing these. So again, I was trying to, show that a scribing tool isn't just something you drag around. So you can see in these different ones, and there's a full video and I'll show you that in a moment, but this is like a standard pass with a scriber. This is a different angle pass with a scriber. So obviously, depending on how much dig you put into it will depend on how much it is. So we talk about shallow and high angle of attack using the scriber. So this one down in here is very much a high angle of attack, so it hardly does anything. It's a very thin, very light line on the top, whereas down in here, if you were using it something like this on a low angle of attack, as you can see how this is dug in, so it digs in quite deep. And then down in here we show about how you can push a scriber. It's not just for pulling, so we do push and then show the different ways of doing it, so forth and so on, and go right the way through, and then showing you in practice where you would physically use them for pushing, and then obviously for doing the dragging and using the blade edge to actually do scribing work and putting that all in there as well. Then we talk about obviously using needles for doing circles, access panels, all those different types of things, and the techniques for doing that. And then we move on to riveting. So we got obviously using Rosie the riveters here, but we talk about how you would go about using them and when you would use them. And then down in here we talked about freehanding with them. So this was just a case of putting those ones down onto a set pattern to go through, but obviously then we use the actual riveting wheel in anger as well to show exactly where you would use them and how you would go through it. So that is up with you right now. How you get to that, obviously you can just watch it here, but don't forget we've got our tutorial series which I've been working on very hard behind the scenes. So this section up here is basically the modeling side of it. So in here you'll find all the latest videos as you go right the way through on this one. And then obviously down in here we've got the scribing one down in here, so that's showing all about that. There's another one that went up yesterday which is actually all about CA glue and talcum powder. It's a great filler. It's one of those very old school, I'm not saying I've invented it, clearly it's been around since the dawn of modelling, but I've just showcased it because I think it's one of those little techniques that works really well and it's overlooked all the time. So with all these modern fangled glues and super glues and all this, that and the other, some of the old techniques really are, some of the best ones out there. So we used it for putting down the clear parts and taking care of the gaps all around it. So that video is in there as well. Up with you today is this one here, which is the actual bite size for clear parts. So it's the clean up, the masking, and then fixing them into position. So there's a little bit of that video in the tail end of the last 5 minutes of this one, but really that's just what that one is about. So really it's just that thing about taking them off the sprues, doing the cleanup with them, going through the motions like that, sanding them, cleaning up all the parts so it's ready to be, masked up. We talk about masking, different techniques for doing masking, get that done, and then we talk about securing it and how I go about securing it down onto the model. And then as a little bonus one, the CA one I've attached onto the end of this, which then talks about how to get rid of any gaps that might appear around the actual canopy, sanding and blending, so forth and so on with those. So that's the whole point to it, and going through all the motions of those ones. What's going to happen then, and here she is, it will slightly carry on to the next section. As you can see, this has got primer all over it. So where we spoke about in previous videos about seam lines and all the gaps and the various things on this one, as you can see now we're pretty much absolutely seamless all the way through. And this is that gap that was at the front, which we sanded out using the actual talc and super glue filler for all this areas down in here. But yeah, so again, this one is going to be a little bit of a masterclass. This will be up with you over the weekend. I'll do it, and it's going to be talking about obviously priming. So this is just a coat of primer on here, nothing special, and then going right the way over it. And as you can see, it goes in very nicely. And we were talking about seam lines and various things. So there's a big one obviously down in here. We've made that pretty much disappear now as we make our way through with that one. What's going to happen then is this is going to continue then into the airbrush section. which is the other section onto this one, where we're going to talk about the paintwork. So I've already started because we've already done the prop. So the prop is literally just a loose bit. If I can get it off. There we go. So the prop's on there, but we've already done a video about painting and weathering props and stuff like that. So that is already up there, and you can find that one in here somewhere, is in the airbrushing section. Sorry, if you go to the back and we go to tutorials, and then I think it's either in here or it's in the next one. And just down in here, no, it'll be in the other one. So we've already got a video which we will link down into this one, all about props. As I say, this is all going to get rejigged and everything and sorted out. So we've got just down in here, and these will make their way and get fully brought in. There we go. So that's the one we actually did about painting and weathering props and doing like the yellow bits on the end and masking up and all the rest of it. That is all down in there. So you can find all these separate videos now as bite size and as obviously doing it all as one. So that's what this one's going to be about. So this one's going to be basic painting the Spitfire. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do it freehand or mask it yet. Again, it's more of a basic video, so I'm trying to keep it as straightforward as possible for doing that one. I've got all the paints ready to go, so that one is all going to be ready to be painted up. Hopefully this weekend I'll get that one sorted out as well, and then obviously next week we'll get the next videos of that all going up. But that's come together really, really nicely. And don't forget, the whole point of this one, we're going to try and make it look like the Tamiya one. So that's what we're going to try and do with here. So that's why I might freehand paint it, because that's how the Tamiya one was done. So we can do a direct side-by-side comparison of a £30 kit next to a £130 kit. So that's the reason for doing this particular one, and trying to show that basic modelling techniques, nothing fancy, it will go really, really nicely. So that's that one. That's coming along very nicely on there. So your tutorial areas is just getting massive now. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And as I say, next week I'm going to be then stepping into this section again, where we'll be talking all things airbrushing. So if you haven't seen it before, we've got the bite-sized stuff all on airbrushing down in here, the tools, the equipment, and then obviously the basics of it all down in here. And this now will extend right the way down as well. So we've already got a video done on priming, and again I'm going to add that new one into that one as well. So it's probably going to replace the priming video anyway, but you can see all the tips and tricks videos down in there as well. These are all free to watch, so you don't even have to pay a penny to see them. You just might have to watch an advert at the beginning. Okay, so that's those. So that was your Tuesday going through. Wednesday, it was just me and Matt. Obviously, Andy is in hospital at the moment. He's had his kidney removed, but hopefully, and fingers crossed, spoke to him very shortly ago, and he's heading home today, which is really quick because he only had it done on Tuesday. So that's really quick for him to be out of the hospital, but obviously feeling he's doing really well, and congratulations to obviously Andy for getting through this so quickly, and love to him and all the family, and I have passed on all your well wishes to him. Anyway, it's me and Matt on this one. We were going through all what's been in. I've had lots of deliveries up at the PM store this week, including, as I say, we've got the Hawk down there, we got some tools, we got the Hercules, we got the bike, which we were talking about. Matt's going to pop them down to me on the courier next week so I can do some reviews of those, so we can have a look, a little more detailed look at those particular kits down in there. But if you want to see that show, it's about an hour and 10 minutes, because you know what me and Matt get going. So that is up and ready to watch there, so you can see there. Then obviously last night we got me and the guys, and that's that still. If you were watching it, I did warn everyone that I was going to do a stills photo from it when John froze. He was stuck like that for a few minutes. So that was why we did that one. Again, great show last night. Obviously, we were talking about YouTube and social media and how it's affected the hobby, the positives, the negatives to it. And we had a few goes with adverts as well. And I didn't get a copyright strike or got in any trouble for showing all those videos either. So that was quite good. So anyway, real good feedback from you guys. I've had lots of messages on about it. All of it positive as well, which was quite nice. So, but that's what we're talking about, the positives and the negatives of it. And I know lots and lots of you have got YouTube channels and things like that. And as I say, I've been doing YouTube since it started, but I did do it 5 years before YouTube started as well, with our own server, which used to cost a fortune. So we spoke a little bit about that. We spoke about the technical sides of it, obviously editing, you know, multiple cameras, multiple audio feeds, things like that as well. So it was all quite an interesting show. So if you want to see that one, that is available to go off and watch right now, as you see that one as well. So that's all pretty good. A couple of things we do need to talk about. Obviously on Wednesday we are back up with you. If I just find it, hold on, I've got to find it just down in here, and this will be just down in here. If we go in, we have the Halloween auction. Loads of you have put pre-bids in for this one. This is going to be live on Sunday night starting at 7 o'clock. Usual thing, grab yourself a drink, grab some snacks, put your feet up, have a laugh and a giggle, and we're calling this one the special Halloween auction and advert, because I'm going to find some comedy adverts and we're going to stick them in amongst it as well, so it'll be a bit of a giggle right the way through. It is only available for obviously for Flory Models members to bid on this stuff, and then obviously you do have to be in the UK, purely because shipping outside the UK just costs an absolute fortune these days, so that's why we've sort of pulled it down into there. Your point man for this is Nathan, because obviously Andy's off at the moment, so if you need any information or you want to place a pre-bid or anything else like that, just click on the link here. That takes you to Nathan's page and you can then send him a one. So some of these kits are brand new and sealed, and it's all the guys' kits down in here. We just have to run through. So we've got some great stuff down in here, lots of pre-bids on this stuff as well as we make our way through, so that's always good. But again, it's all part of being here on the night, and I've got all the music queued up, I've got me gavel, I've got absolutely everything. So some of these kits obviously are brand new and sealed, some of them are review samples and some of them are from the guy's stash. So just have a look through these. You can see, take your pick, some really nice stuff. You can see some classics as well, proper classics, and then obviously a Desert Babe right the way through. And these are my review samples that I did last week, so obviously I'm not planning on building these, and I have bought them, so we might as well get the money back a bit. So we got the Panther down there, we got the DR1, we got the Star Trek Voyager, we got the Minerva, and we got an F5 as well. So that's the AFE kit as well. So some great stuff down in there. So if you want to join us for that one, that would be absolutely fantastic. So remember, that's Sunday night. Don't forget, obviously at the PM store, they've had various things in from the new arrivals. If you'd have watched the Wednesday show, you can see. So there's that bike, we've got the Hercules, that's that Hawk, and all these other ones as well. So we say we've got the Talcum, various ones down in there. We've got the T90, we've got another Panther down there. All that's sold out. Some of this was sold out already. We have restocks in as well, as more Hinds have come in. We've got more of those fantastic Armour Hobbies, Hurricanes by Eddard's ones are in there as well. The Wellingtons, things like that, right the way through, and all those things. Like we were saying, keep an eye on this because we've got a lot of the damaged boxes coming in next week. So yeah, there should be some good stuff in there, to say the least. Usual ones that are up, we spoke about obviously on the Wednesday show as well. That Chieftain is an absolute gem of a kit because I've built the Mark 10. We've got the actual the Matilda, which we've built as well. We've got the Ninja, which I must admit quite fancy building, and all the other ones we did kit reviews for this as well down in here. So that's had a little bit of a clean out. There's not much in there, but obviously there's lots more of that coming in. And as we spoke about, there was a full restock of everything, literally from Kitwise and various bits that came in this week as well. So just have a click through on the actual PM site and you can see all about those. And there we go, that was this week. So I've still got lots of editing to do because obviously I'm going to get this one done for the priming video and things like that. So I'm going to get this painted up, so I might do the hull first, then I'll do the black work. We can mask off the hull and forget about it until we get to the weathering stage, and we can do the black on that, which would be quite good. And again, doing the camo work on this one should be interesting. For this one, a bit of a mismatch of colours, to be honest. Going to be using Tamiya acrylics onto it. We'll be using sort of the AK hybrids, and I think we might even be using a little bit of Hataka on this as well. So as I say, plenty of different bits and pieces on that one to see. So next week should be absolutely really full on with all of these coming up right the way through. And again, if you get any ideas and things like that, you'd like me to do a short tutorial on the bite-sized one, which usually 10 to 15 minute videos, shoot me a message and I'll do a video on it for you. It's as simple as that. So that's about it for this week. As always, on a Friday, I'm going to leave you with great work from the gallery. So until Sunday for the live auction at 7 o'clock, happy modelling and take care.
I was not ready to falling like I'm wasted. My heart grows heavy. Don't taste me rushing. Keep your words naked. You got me blushing. And you forever I'll follow. You be my holy ground. You forever I'll follow. listen for the answer.